call the July County Council meeting to order. If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, normally at this time we would have a pastor from one of the local churches open us in a word of prayer. We do not have that this morning, so I would just invite you to take a few moments to individually offer a prayer or a moment of meditation, and then we'll proceed. Okay, I do want to state for the record that Councilman Josh Plew and Councilman Scott Ayers are absent today, and everyone else is present. So before you have the consent agenda. I would ask, is there anything that needs to be pulled out and discussed individually on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Can you pause just for a minute? This
Yes.
is not put down and now it's getting more. It will be soon.
All right, we good? Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Paul Ryder to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a second by Dr. Stocker. Any discussion or questions? I did review the minutes that you sent out and did not have any concerns or edits on those.
Okay. I had those done before and then I thought, yeah, I forgot. I can send those out. After I got them done, that's it.
Yeah.
Stop by and get it.
All right, hearing no other questions or concerns, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries 5-0. Doc Stock. Okay, the next thing on the agenda for this morning, I've invited Julia Leahy to come and speak about the innkeeper's tax.
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
So, a number of years ago, ordinance 2011-2 was established to collect a 5% innkeeper's tax. And at the time, we had 30 rooms that we were able to collect tax on. But the ordinance also stated that if we ever fell below 30 rooms, then we would no longer collect the tax. So what happened a couple years later, White Oaks, at the time that was owned by a timeshare company, went bankrupt. So we had 1 year that we were able to collect that tax. And I believe all of those funds were spent. It wasn't a lot of money. If I remember right, it was about $1,800. The established Convention, Visitor, and Tourism Commission oversaw that and was able to spend those funds to produce some maps. And in fact, I'm still using those maps. I've got maybe 2 or 3 more map pads left. So what I'm here today to let you know is, or to inform you, is that we actually have over 30 rooms again. So with White Oaks being reincarnated in what it is and fabulous, there's a lot of cottages, and before cottages fell under that. So a lot of people think innkeeper's tax is just for hotels, and it's not. Based on what the state has put out, it can be a lot more than that. I'm finding that campsites can be taxed. We're finding that, people who rent rooms, in their homes can be taxed, but there's obviously lots of stipulations. Now, back in 2011, 2012, the existence of Airbnb, so if everybody's familiar with Airbnb and how that works, or vacation rentals by owner, those really didn't exist. Well, now that they do, the state has put out a bulletin dated June of 19 that explains how those marketplace vendors, that's what they call Airbnb, that marketplace vendors then directly collect the tax, and then they send it to the state, and the state sends it to the counties. But we just have to tell them to do so. I guess I'm here today to do a couple things. First, to let you know that we are over that 30-room minimum now. And secondly, that we probably need to examine the existing language and make some modifications to it so it falls in line with what the state says in this information bulletin. Sorry, I didn't make copies, there's like 40 pages here, but this is what, and Councilman Radcliffe has this, and we've been kind of talking about this. So there are some decisions I think you would need to make. So just to give you an idea, if all of the rentals that we have in existence today were occupied 70% of the year, you would be at about $25,000 annually for the tax. It's not too bad. You know, those are the ones that we know about, right? So in doing that inventory, and I've got a chamber committee that's been looking into the inventory. Now, if we have a hotel someday, this is where it really changes in the impact that it could have in the county. So there was a hotel study done. They looked at 3 different levels of hotels based on either $150 a night to $300 a night. I did middle of the road and occupied 75% of the time, and in 1 year alone, if we get this hotel bill one of these days, we're looking at over $100,000. So it's a substantial amount of money that the Convention Visitor and Tourism Commission would oversee and put back in to promote your county and bring more visitors. So right now, I mean, I'm not sneezing at $25,000, that's quite a lot of money, we can do a lot with that. So I guess I'm here today to answer any questions you might have, or maybe have somebody from the council participate on a committee that we can continue working with the attorneys for the county to come up with the best possible solution, so.
Yeah, I did speak with Julia about this, and, you know, really this is a win for the county if we can, because most of the money and the revenue that we'll generate from this is from, people that are outside of Carroll County, that are spending their money, here within the county, so, it's an opportunity at revenue from outside of our residents. My concern, and I've reached out to Eric about this, my concern is like, just logistically, how do we move this forward? Because we've got this ordinance in place. Is this ordinance just dormant at this point?
It's dormant, yeah. We had contacted the state after informing the council a few years ago that we fell below 30. So in the state size, it is dormant.
So I guess, and I would ask this of you, Eric, do we need to write a new resolution, a new ordinance? Do we need to just reinstate this existing one and tweak the language a bit, or revise it? Like, I'm just not sure logistically how we move forward.
Yeah, I think that there are two things to think about. One, while you probably could breathe new life into it, perhaps the more open to the public sort of method would be to start fresh and say, look, it's been that long since we've had it. The law has changed. The whole marketplace vendors that didn't exist before have changed, and so I would suggest that you start fresh. There's not a whole lot of difference between starting fresh and reinstituting this ordinance, quite frankly. We would start with this ordinance. I would talk to Ted Johnson, and we'd get it up to snuff with the current law and bring it before you, and it would just be passed as an ordinance. And then there's a publication requirement, but doing it that way does not add any particular burdens in terms of process. And I start over, let's have this conversation, we want to impose this tax.
One thing I was concerned about was years ago, I believe the state legislature actually had to approve that tax amount. So my fear was if we start over, then does that delay us a whole year before we can get it to the legislature again? That was my concern that I could not find an answer.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to
They
that
don't.
either.
They don't have to go back before?
No, it's just a county ordinance now.
Okay.
Has that changed? So it started off and they had to have state oversight to final approve?
We didn't in Clinton County, once they adopted that
Okay,
statute, that we created the innkeeper's tax. And
Okay,
okay. Well,
so
that
that's
makes-
good news, yeah.
That makes sense.
I'll go back and look for the legislation and get that to you.
That would be great, thank you for that.
There was 2012-05 was also a detailed ordinance on establishing the actual commission to oversee the tax. And again, we can examine that, it's not bad, I mean, it says that the commission has 4 members, 2 of whom promote convention visitors and tourism, 2 that are in the business of renting. The mayor of Delphi had 1 member, there was no simple majority of the members may be affiliated with the same political party, so at least it was spelled out. It didn't seem out of line, but it's certainly worth your examining. But again, I believe this is still an active ordinance, the establishment of the commission, so.
But we don't have one that's actively.
Exactly, because we don't have any funding to oversee, so, yeah.
And that would be a commissioner's, ordinance
Commissioners do that.
to establish that.
Yeah, years ago, the council did, and they signed it. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they both? Okay. Okay. And again, I think part of the reason for this, not only is to have some more funding to help bring visitors, it also might change what we do as the chamber every year, because that's what we use edit funds for when we come to you all. You know, we use a substantial amount of funding to promote, so if we can pull from another source, that might open up edit funds for other purposes. In a nutshell.
Do we need to, take any action on this today? Do we need to, like specifically vote on, a support of this or somehow engage gears that would start moving forward?
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful if you want me to move forward, then, just the consent of the body to move forward on it would be fine. You don't necessarily need a vote, but, you know, whatever
Yeah.
procedure you'd like to follow would be fine.
Is there any question or concerns of any member of the council on this?
I'm gonna abstain because I don't know.
Okay.
I'd move that we move forward on the vote and have this ordinance.
Second. Is he making a motion?
Yeah, I don't know that we necessarily need a formal motion, but, I think he's stated his approval for it.
Okay. I second.
Okay. So it's not gonna hurt anything to have a vote if we have
I
a
agree.
motion in a second? Okay.
I agree, you have the record.
That sounds good. All right, so we do have a motion on the floor by Doc Stoffer, seconded by Paul Ryder, to formally support moving forward in investigating and instituting an innkeeper's tax in Carroll County. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Vote carries 4-0. Councilwoman Tracy Martin abstains.
I'll get going, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Work directly with you.
That'd be fine, would you send me that memo?
I sure will. What would you like?
The SBOA.
And you were looking for the ordinance for the thing from the state, correct?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julia. All right, next thing on the agenda is, review of financial reports. So I do wanna just read out fund balances, county general is at 7.5 million, rainy day at 4.3 million, and riverboat at $317,000. These reports would be through June 30th, so we should be right at 6 months, so about 50% year-to-date utilization. So for my departments, the coroner is at 20% year-to-date. I really feel this is largely based on two line items, and I've talked about them before, but we budgeted $40,000 for autopsy fees. The coroner spent $5,000, and we budgeted $4,000 for storage, and there's not been anything spent through June on that. So EMA at 45.2% year-to-date, local road and street at 33.2% year-to-date, MVH at 34.4% year-to-date. One of the things I would call out, because we've got to transfer on this a little bit, actually, we just approved it in the consent agenda, but there was a transfer for fuel. We budgeted $500,000 in your fuel line, and you spent $128. So, a little low on that for the year, and I think that's one of the big reasons why you're coming in at 34%. No other issues from me, so I will hand it over to Vicki.
All of my departments are running at just above 50%, so we're good.
I've been out of town for a couple of days, but I'll take full responsibility. I think my departments are in good shape.
Well, my departments are right at 50 or just above 50%.
All my departments are around 50%, the election board's at 67.
All right. I'll turn it over to the auditor.
Okay, I sent out the June 2023 reports on July 14th and July 23rd. I had PDF problems, so do you have any questions on that? Just want to remind you that there's a joint session set for August 7th at 1 p.m. with the commissioners on your ARPA. And animal control was not talked about at the last one that was supposed to, so I think we're going to add that to the list.
They have some other fund requests, is that what you're saying?
No, it's just special needs that the sheriff
Okay,
was asking for.
okay, all right.
I have the AIC contract that I just need the signature, we've already approved it. I'll get it. It's not. It's supposed to sign. And then I have a job description, and the reason I didn't put Scott on the agenda, he did request, but, that goes to the HR now, so it's an HR situation. It was approved by the commissioners on July the 5th, so now it moves on over to you, so it doesn't really involve him unless you have questions right now. But I do have that, I sent that to you by email. Not to know.
So this is, I'm
You
sorry,
guys all sign it on this right here.
Looks like it's set up for the president.
President, thank you.
So this is just a description change, not a financial change, wage change?
Right. It's called equipment service technician, it's really just mechanic, so.
okay. It's the mechanic on the,
We have 3 mechanic positions. One is the foreman, shop foreman, and 2 mechanics. We're getting people inquiring about jobs, but nobody has a CDL.
that was my question, like, the fact that this is specifically non-CDL. Okay. Does the foreman have a CDL?
Yeah, he'll be required to have.
Okay.
That's the 2 others. do with what the current.
Would this position report to the foreman or
Yes.
report to you?
Report to the foreman, and then
Okay.
the foreman reports.
Okay. Yeah, so, I guess the reason I'm asking, where I'm going with this is like, if this mechanic fixes a truck, they've got no way to test, like, drive it and test it out, right?
That's what the foreman,
Okay. Yeah,
that's why we wanted to make sure he had CDLs.
okay.
Cause he's supposed to sign off on when it's complete anyway, so
Yeah,
he needs to be the one taking it out.
okay.
The only thing I don't like about it, all these non-CDL positions is that it's not a benefit to have a CDL anymore. So you're gonna get more employees, non-CDL, but we're still paying them as if they did have a CDL. That's the only problem I kinda see at it, but I see that we need the employees, but it used to be, if you had a CDL, you got paid more money because you were a certified driver. Now you're giving the same wages to non-certified drivers. That's the only problem I have with it.
I thought it was a difference. There's a difference for a non-CDL.
I think so, yeah.
Well, for a driver, but is there going to be for this one? You said it was the same wage.
Well, and my thinking on it is, the job itself isn't changing, and that's what we need is the mechanics or equipment service technicians. So that's why I guess I was thinking that, not change if they were out doing like stuff where, then it would be different.
And I agree with that, but at some point in time, you may have an employee come in and say, I have a CDL. How come the non-CDL is getting paid the same wage as when I'm a certified worker and he is not? I could see that possibly happening, but I also see your point. You need to have some employees that,
And the shop makes a different amount anyway. The equipment service technicians, and then the one with CDL is the foreman, which makes a different wage as well.
so there are different wages.
Yeah, so there won't be drivers, regular truck drivers, and non-CDL mechanics making the same money.
Okay, that's why I asked if there was a wage difference.
Okay, so we need to vote on this job description.
Motion to approve.
Alright, we've got a motion by Paul Ryder, do we have a second? Alright, motion to approve the job description as sent out, by Paul Ryder, seconded by Tracy Martin. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Paul, do you wanna vote on this? Yes, alright. Opposed, same sign? Alright, motion carries 5-0.
And then, before we go to budget dates, I would just like to ask, I have a concern. I have two things. The transfer station grants received, I made a new line and it's 1,000,024.02. You will not see it in your reports now, but you will next month. And we did send a letter for reimbursement, and I meant to pull that, I think it's like for $18,000. So, it should be received by the next meeting, so it'll be in that line.
Okay.
The other thing is I have a concern, I would like to ask as a common courtesy if the council members could wait at the counter and ask my staff if I'm available, because I've been locked in on the phone calls or working with somebody else, or actually trying to get something done before a meeting. There's no reason why mail can't be picked up and then you come through this door. A lot of that is internal controls also, that I really would respect, if you would respect my wishes by doing that. Just been some concerns lately. So, doesn't have anything major, I'm just asking if that could be done.
So one thing that I realized I did not read out on Carroll Manor, so just as a point of clarification, Carroll Manor, in terms of financial reports, is at 42% year-to-date. I don't have any concerns or issues to bring forth on that. As far as budget goes, I do have this year's council budget that I'll submit, sign and submit. I didn't make any changes except for the professional services line, up that by $200 from $5,000 to $5,200. So just as a point of order, I've got that here, and I'll just give that to Beth so we can submit that for budget as well. Okay, budget dates. I would like to. I'm glad Jackie is here this morning because I want to make sure that we are accommodating to her schedule. And I feel like we talked about this a little bit last month. Did we talk about what we wanted to do last month, or did we just push it to this month? Okay. Okay. Jackie, do you have any upfront concerns or dates that are non-negotiable we have to work around?
I have 2 weeks already tied up in August, and then I'm kind of free early in September, and then of course at the end of September, our annual conference. It's the annual conference is the 25th through the 28th, and we'd love to have it all there. There's money, when we talked about major money, broadband, and mental health, and health all. And then
While she said that, there are certain things, and I wanted to ask you, that, remember when Penny came in last,
Yeah.
she did say that the council could use some of the county elected training funds. Is this
new
something?
legislation, you're allowed to use that, yes.
To attend the conference. What are the dates for the conference again?
The 25th through the 28th. The workshops are on the 27th, and the council association's breakout session is on the 26th. It is in the beautiful French way.
So before we go with the date with Jackie, we need to get down a plan of how many days we're going to do our budgeting and when we're going to do the department heads, and we could do that before.
That's fine.
Okay. Last year, we did a 3-day budget with a extra day in case, and we did a department heads the day before we started budget hearings, and we did them all in one day.
Okay. My concern has always been, and I will state it again this year, I don't like having the department heads and then a gap in time and then coming back and trying to recall and remember their reasoning for requests and what was said in those department head presentations to justify the submitted budget that they gave. So if we shorten that amount of time, like if it's all in the same week or the next subsequent days, it's just easier for me mentally to remember.
I agree with that also, so I would like to possibly do the department heads on a Monday and then do a Tuesday through Friday for our budgets. And if we need to meet on that Friday, great. If we get it done in 3 days, great. You keep it all in 1 week also. I don't like doing the weekend and then you gotta come back and, refresh the brain. If that works for everybody else, I agree.
Yep.
I'd rather do it in 2 weeks, whatever. I'm in agreement with having it close to the department heads. I can just tie up a whole week, do 2 days one week and do the next, not too much, that's what you want.
in that case, would it be easier to do like a Tuesday department head and then do a Thursday, Friday, and a Monday, Tuesday? Is that what you're kind of thinking?
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Can't do Wednesday is a half a day, that's hard on Beth, I think.
Yeah, Wednesday, the courthouse is closed half day, so that makes it hard.
You could do it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Good.
When would you do it then?
On Monday, and then meet Tuesday, Thursday, and then come back all Monday, Tuesday.
If you're good, you may not know. I will, I'm gonna, I will inform you a little bit. I'll be checking with the assessor to make sure what she did, but you know, I don't know if you're aware, but they changed the homestead, definition. It's gonna make huge changes. It won't affect this county as much in circuit breaker laws because our levy doesn't grow on property. It grows on the income tax. That's where our levy growth comes. However, depending on what the county assessor did, and in fairness to them, they've not gotten good direction of which way to go or really how to do to make this huge change. Because for those of you that don't know, the homestead used to be a building 1 acre, up to 1 acre and a garage. It is now 1 acre of ground, the house, a garage, an outbuilding, another building that's used for personal residential, all swimming pools, all pergolas, all decks, all of that now. And it switched from a 3%, along with it being in the definition, it went from a 3% circuit breaker loss to a 1% circuit breaker loss. Now it's all under 1%. Nobody is really quite sure, other than they've estimated about 82 million statewide will be the loss of revenue to local governments in this change. If the assessor made the changes, it won't impact as much. But if the assessor didn't make all of those changes, and then when it rolls to the county auditor, she calculates the deductions against the homestead. If she didn't make the change, the public will be able to appeal their tax bill in the spring and say, my swimming pool should have gotten it. And I calculated it on one person in another county that's not a circuit breaker, not a levy-freeze county, but it was $500 for that in-ground swimming pool. If they come in and appeal, we have budgeted on that money. That tax refund is lost revenue. So those are some things that we'll need to take into consideration as we do the budget. I don't think we should stop our budget, but I think we need to be aware that those type of things are happening. And no one, everyone is asking questions and no one's real sure. So I'm gonna check with the assessor to see, did she change all of those eligible homestead buildings? And in defense of them, if a property has multiple buildings, how does she know which one might or might not qualify for the homestead? So, it's a tremendous change, and we could see a lot of a possible revenue loss. At my house, it only means a $27 difference in my tax bill, because all I've got extra is a shed that's gonna get counted. But swimming pools and pergolas and carriage houses and second garages and all of that now will have deductions, plus the extra goes down 40% instead of 35%. So our net assessed values are going to go down, even without all of the changes. The net assessed values are going to go down we're still under $2, so it's not as big a deal, but things that you need to be aware of as we work through the project. When we say this is our levy, this is gonna be our levy, but, and that $550 isn't all county money, it's spread out between all the units, so. but Just want you aware of that as we're working through this project.
How much, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Jackie, you would know more about it than I do, and I will become more familiar before we get in the budget, but the state has made drastic changes in funding to help. The state's
That's
finally
correct.
recognized that it's
Yes.
not watched for years, and I'm sure you have.
Right.
We're 97th in mortality and so forth in the United States, and that puts us down with Alabama
Yeah.
and
There's huge,
Louisiana.
there's
They
huge
made
increases.
substantial, increases, but it's also, there are,
Yes, there's substantial money out there. Now, there are strings with it when you
there
get
are
it.
limitations, but there are.
Yeah, there are strings with it when you get it,
Guidelines
but
are
there is
expensive.
substantial money out there for, health. There's
Salaries.
substantial money out there for, mental health. And there is substantial money out there for broadband that is new money. And those are the type of things that will be discussed when we have workshops on those, so. Yes, at the AIC, yeah, and it's, you know, it's substantial money. And not every county is opting in to the new health money because they don't want the strings or they feel like
My
they're
understanding that
sufficient.
our commissioners did it what?
You opted in.
My
Yeah.
understanding from a board of health meeting.
So that will be new revenue, but we don't know for sure how much it'll be because we gotta wait to see how many counties opt in.
Will be, as I
And it's
understood, it's gonna
supplemental.
be substantial money, but there's a lot of strings.
Yeah, there's reporting strings and it's not supposed to be, it's supposed to improve the program, not just hold it steady.
Oh, yeah.
They took their budget back and they did their budget.
So, yeah, you're
Thank
correct,
you.
there is new money.
Yeah, so, that's good to know. I'm looking at September right now. What weeks are you out in September?
The last two,
Okay,
that's the week before conference, I can't book anything since I'm the event planner. And the week of conference, so
okay.
the 18th and 25th are out.
So Labor Day was the fourth also.
Labor Day's the 4th, yeah.
So what if we did departments the fifth and start budget 7th, 8th, and 11th?
Well, because we have, that's the commissioners meeting, September fifth.
Okay.
Right.
First Monday is the 4th, and you push it to the 5th.
What about the last 2 weeks of August?
I'm not available on the 21st, but I'm available on the 20th.
That will be coming back. That's September 11th. September 11th, we'll probably have
Alright,
presentations.
you're gone that whole week, okay. So that's out, and that pushes, so that week's out, and then Jackie's out the next 2 weeks. So,
What's wrong with the last 2 weeks of August? Are you going?
She's not. Jackie's not.
I can't do the 21st.
Just that day or?
That, the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, I'm in another county.
Last 2 weeks,
And I've waited to do 2 counties still.
21st is also commissioners,
When do we have to have it done
And that pushes us right back to when we did it last year.
by? Is that gonna be October 1st or is it?
Friday, then Monday, Tuesday, and then there's a half a day Wednesday if we need it.
That's only giving us 2.5 days.
The 11th, you're gonna go?
I have to be gone Thursday and Friday.
Sure.
Seventh is on Thursday.
Unless that will work all day on Wednesday if we need to. I don't have a problem working all day on Wednesday. Depends on my schedule.
I didn't look at Wednesdays afternoons, so. I'm not gonna promise, I guess. is what I'm trying to
That
say.
leaves 3 days for your budget. The department head's on the 7th.
Yeah.
You start on the 8th, and then 11th and 12th. That's 3.5 days.
Okay.
I will tell you, I will have to leave mid-afternoon on the 11th, because I have a meeting, but I can be here most of the day.
Okay. So you do,
Check with the other two to make sure that they can do it.
we do department heads on the 7th. Then, yeah, then do full days, the 8th, the 11th, and the 12th.
Half a day on the 13th.
And if we needed a half a day on the 13th. And at that point, we could reassess and we need to add,
The 14th.
I feel like we could maybe get it done if we
So,
have 3.5 days.
I feel like it's gonna be easier than it was last year, because last year we were really, it was a really big budget. Is there any foreseeable big problems with this year?
But you're gonna have a lot of information that she's going to bring to you.
Well, I know, but we're gonna have that before we start. Right?
Well, I mean,
we can't-
we'll guesstimate the best we can on,
Yeah.
that would be my part, the my part to not present it to you, but to,
That's, I mean, we're gonna have what you are suggesting us to do before we start. We're not gonna be going through and then have to go back all the time, will we? I wouldn't see that happening.
we'll know what the levy is. It's gonna be a by guess and by golly, how many people might appeal, what, and I'll double check and see what the auditor's done, the assessor's done, so we know, but.
Okay. Alright,
I
so
don't see we have any other choice, with her gone and her gone.
I agree.
Gone. I'm gone, what I don't know about 2 days.
I just texted him back.
Okay, so we will pencil in for now, September 7th is department heads. And then full workshop, September 8th, September 11th, September 12th, and potentially the morning of the 13th.
So I will once again make this comment that when we're elected, we know what our duties are gonna be. And so when something like this, we know this is gonna happen every year, and I know we have other jobs, but we need to be here. Because I don't feel like we're doing our duty if we're making a budget with 3 to 4 people. I'll just say that.
That's fair.
Got him saved.
Okay. Jackie, any other concerns from you on that?
No.
Okay, alright. Beth, you good with that for now? Okay, alright.
I will say, basically,